up, Mommyanas, and welcome back to another and our first episode postpartum to the Mommyana podcast. I'm Mommyana Danae. There's Mommyana Leah and Mommyana Kate. So we're just going to welcome you all back today with the real and the raw of how the fourth trimester has been going for each of us, and just provide some life updates and how we're feeling now that we're all 3, 4, and 5 months postpartum. So yeah, we're just going to kick it off, relax your feet, and tune in.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. So you guys want to just like go in order, like Kate, me, then Danae?
Yeah, you just kind of want to touch base on everything, just an update.
Yeah, how's it been going? How's motherhood been going for you? Postpartum? Just how's it been going overall?
It's been going good, just like I think for everyone it's like a roller coaster, so we had like a pretty rough start, and just like smoothing that out. I'm like super happy that like the colic and reflex sessions of hours of crying is over, like that's been a blessing, and it's been evened out and stuff. And I think like the emotions at the beginning were crazy, and it's kind of nice to kind of be like just feeling normal kind of again, like feeling back to yourself and like working and being a mom all in once. It's been just in like the past couple of weeks, just the transition has been real nice.
Yeah, nice. I'd say for me, it's been pretty good so far. Something I've been like struggling, I guess, the most with would be like getting my body back, which I try not to be so hard on myself about that. But after you have a baby, your body definitely changes. Everybody doesn't go back to normal, like, or back to their pre-baby body, unfortunately. So, I've just been trying to stay active as much as possible. And, that's good for your mental as well, but also trying to not be so hard on myself. As far as baby Elise, she's doing really good. I think the toughest part for me transitioning into motherhood, I'd say, is the lack of sleep, the tiredness. Like, like sleepy is the lifestyle right now. Like I've just kind of accepted that no matter what, I'm going to be tired, and that's just what it is. So, but initially I think that was really hard for me because I was like just drained. Breastfeeding is going pretty cool. So Elise, I did want to like actually nurse her from my breast, but at like 3 weeks, she started rejecting. And at that point, I just started giving her the bottle. So I just exclusively pump right now, which is a whole nother job in itself for sure. Waking up at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. That can be struggling, especially when you have to get all the way out the bed and then rinse the bottle. And, but I'm just happy that I'm still able to give her breast milk, and I'm still able to produce that. So, yeah. What about you, Dani?
Yeah, so for me, things have been going busy for us over here, busy but well. So I had Niani, and we spent 2.5 weeks in the NICU. We came home on July 10. And then from there, we were home for about a week, and then we got COVID. And then, well, Niani didn't get COVID because we are breastfeeding through, I'm exclusively pumper as well. So she got lots of antibodies from me, and luckily did not get it. And then from there, just started to realize that like Niani, also I had her via C-section. So recovering still to this day. I was just telling Mike when we were driving home earlier, I was in a little bit of pain. So that's like a new thing that like I'm really getting used to, is like, oh, like I still have pain at my incision site. And I'm probably going to for a long time. I jumped in a whole different bucket, and now I'm like going back, sorry. But I had delivered her by C-section. And so then, yeah, we were home for about a week, got COVID. She didn't get COVID, thankfully. We got her tested, which was interesting to watch, but she took it like a champ, because I didn't know how she was going to do. They do test babies like with the regular nasal thingy mabobber that they do the adults. But she just sneezed and kept it pushing. It didn't bother her at all. And then from there, we started noticing that like we were just struggling with her eating. And so reached out to Mommyana Kate and had a little bit of conversation with her and realized like maybe she's tongue tied. And then I looked up some symptoms of what a tongue tie is, and I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a thing. Took her to the doctor. At first, her pediatrician was going to give us reflux medication. And then I asked her if she can check for the tongue tie, and she did. And she's like, oh, just forget about the reflux medication. She's tongue tied. And then we took her to get snipped, but still like nothing really changed. And so for Niani, I did want to put her to breast when she was born, but obviously the C-section interfered with that. And then being in the NICU also interfered with that because I wasn't able to be with her all the time to do that. She's very interested in the breast, but still, especially now, her tongue was tied for 2 months of her life. So she now has to relearn how to use her tongue. And so we're working on going on the breast, but at this point, I don't really care as long as she's getting breast milk. And she's also supplemented as well, just because she was growth restricted when she was born, which means I carried her until 39 weeks and she stopped growing at 36 weeks. So she was born at 4 pounds and 8 ounces. My little chunky girl is now almost 11 pounds, so we good. We're not missing no meals over here. But yeah, so it's tongue tie, and now we're 2 weeks post-op on the tongue tie. We ended up getting a second opinion because the first opinion, that's what I was going to say, it just didn't really do anything for her. We noticed that she was just still struggling and not really eating a lot at one time, or just in general, like I was like forcing her to eat. And as a mom, that added that I just struggled with a lot of guilt, and a lot, which there's a different day for that story. But yeah, so coming 2 weeks off that second opinion of the tongue tie, and she's doing amazing. Her tongue is working, and we're now going to start feeding therapy on Wednesday this coming week, to help her tongue just kind of get used to like doing this type of motion instead of this motion, because it's just not used to it. And so her tongue is lifted really well, but Niani now has to just learn that like you can move your tongue like all around and do all those things with it. So that's been, really life for me postpartum. Just super busy. And I have to admit, I do have postpartum anxiety. It is something that I didn't want to admit or come to terms with because it's just like, oh, like, why can't it just be perfect, right? Like, what is this? But it's a thing. Postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression are two real things. And I think for me, I was so focused on Niani and making sure she was good, making sure she's eating. And now that she's good, I notice a lot comes up for me at random times. So I think I was really honestly in just like survival mode and like just running out of the woods with just making sure that my baby was okay and that she was going to be good. And now that like I'm not so much worried about her and I actually have like quiet time like in my head to like focus on other things, a lot of my own personal traumas and things from birth is coming up for me. And so I will also be starting counseling in 4 weeks to kind of just talk through postpartum, and not necessarily postpartum, but birth itself and my experience in the NICU, which caused a lot of the anxiety that I have. So baby Nani is doing amazing. Mama's doing amazing too. But definitely have my days, and just getting ready to return back to work next week. So I have one more week of freedom, and then it's back to the dream and the nightmare.
Mhm. So what would you all say is, let's say, the most exciting thing about being a mom and the most difficult thing?
I would say like the most exciting thing is just really being able to grow with all these stages and like seeing all these new developments. Like it's just, like Zuri, she can pop her passy in and out now. Like she could grab it before, but now it's like very intentional. So she'll just be like, like all day. And it's just like, things like that is just, I just love, and like watching her focus on things. And now she has like favorite toys because she's kind of in that developmental stage. And so it's just so cool to kind of see that. And I think probably the hardest thing is just like you completely sacrifice yourself. I think it's really hard. I think sometimes I'm like, I just want like bits of me back, even just like I was a huge person on rest. And like it just seems like I can't be like, oh, I'm going to give myself half the day to just rest. I think that kind of part is really hard, or like when you don't feel good, you still got to keep going. So I think
Mhm.
that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd say the most exciting part to me is, yeah, just seeing them grow. They grow so fast. Like,
Hmm.
I swear, like when Elise was born, she was 6 pounds. Now she has to be like at least 15 pounds. We go to the doctor tomorrow. She'll be 4 months tomorrow. So we'll find out how much she weighs exactly. But I don't know. Have you guys had moments where you just like stare at them and just start crying? Like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
I just love her so much. Like I
I
had a
try to do
moment like
like
that yesterday.
timestamps too,
Yeah.
where you're like, all right, I'm gonna freeze this because they grow so fast. I'm trying to remember this moment.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. No, I had a moment yesterday. We were listening to, it was an Erica Badu song. I can't remember what the name of it was, but like we were like, me and Trey always like sing to her. We say we're giving her a concert. And like, I don't
Mhm.
know, the lyrics was just making me all emotional. And I was just like, I just started crying and I was like, I just love her so much. I love you so much. Like, but I have those moments. I feel like frequently I'll just be looking at her like, dang, like I really created you. Like, you're so
Mhm.
beautiful, so sweet. Like, it's a great feeling. The most difficult, like I said, I'd say lack of sleep. Um, I don't know, but that's something I feel like I'm adjusting to as well. And then, like you said, just kind of, I feel like you kind of lose yourself almost being a mom a little bit. So, like, rediscovering, like, or just re engaging in things that used to make you happy or that you have an interest in, finding new hobbies. It could be kind of difficult because, like you said, you're always on the clock. There's no real breaks like that. But I do appreciate my mom. We let Elise go over there like at least like once a week for like 4 hours. My mom will watch her, give us a break so we could step out and do something. And I think that's been like super helpful and important for our relationship too. So yeah, what about you, Danny?
Yeah, so I'd say the most exciting thing is just like she's watching me. Like she is just watching me all the time. And it's just super exciting to know that like she's trying to figure out the world through me. And so just like being the best that I can be is super exciting. Like as her personality grows, she's going to start to do things that either favors me or favors her dad. And I think that's just super exciting. Um, Also just like watching her grow, like right now her thing is her fingers and patterns. Like this girl be super focused,
Mm-hmm.
trying to break the focus, and she just be into it like and I just said today like, oh, I can't wait to paint her fingernails because like
Mm-hmm.
right now she's so into her hands. I'm like, what is she going to do when there's colors on them? Like just change the whole game, and I could just see her whole mind just being blown. So that's super exciting. And definitely resonating with just like the fact that like I created her, like while I was carrying you in my womb, and like all your pretty features were just being put together like while you were in there, and you're
Mhm.
just a beautiful little girl.
Yeah.
Um, the most difficult part for me is just like all the things that can happen with the baby. Like I said, for me, it's just like dang, like why like my whole focus every single day is like how much is she eating? Like that's just how like I can't like it's hard for me to wrap my head around other things with her. Like my whole thing is just like how much is she eating? That's all I want to know. I'm constantly counting and constantly just comparing to the day before and trying to be like, well, how come today she only ate this much and this day she only ate that much? And I think I need to get through counseling first to like just be like to just take that edge off. So for me, it's just like I constantly have this edge about whether or not she's good. And like because she stopped growing in my womb um, at 36 weeks, like now that she's on the outside, my whole thing is like, oh, is she going to get to a certain pound and then stop growing? So that's something that like has been super difficult for me to just like let go of is like she's gonna be fine. Like she's good. Like you got this. So that's just been super difficult. And I don't even think it's her. It's just all me. Like it ain't her. It's just me really trying to like process through that. And give her like everything that I can, like because she was stressed in utero for 4 weeks long. And I don't ever want her to silently suffer like the way she did on the outside. So it's just something that like I am constantly working on, like getting out of my head and just focusing on the growth that I see with her like daily. Like she is now like we've come a long way. Like she was in preemie clothes for a little while and then she finally moved up to newborn and now she's fitting into 0 to 3 months. And we just graduated into her cloth diapers today. So like things like that is like, no girl, like your baby's good. That's just super difficult for me to wrap my head around and like process through on my own. So yeah.
I struggle with that really bad, especially because like I do combination feed. I breastfeed and bottle feed. So then like days she breastfeeds a lot more, than I get a lot of anxiety because I don't know the exact amount of ounces she's getting. And because of she had a lip and tongue tie until 3 months. And so she has a really slow grow curve.
Yeah.
Like she at her 4 months, she hit 13 pounds, and so but she's so like 22% in weight and then 92% in height, so she's real tall and skinny, and she just in like the past month from the lip tight, she's just been getting a lot more chunky and stuff like that. And so I like count ounces on my phone. I counted diapers for a really long time. I finally just let go of counting diapers. I'm like, it's okay, like she's getting enough wet ones.
Yeah.
I think that was something I struggled with in the beginning. Like, well, not even in the beginning. Like, I'd say like at 2 months, I feel like her stool started changing. She stopped going every day. So I was like, is she okay? Like, is she constipated? Is she fine? Went to the doctor. The doctor's like, breastfed babies, it's normal for them to sometimes not even poop for 3 weeks, which I'm like, I'm not gonna let her not poop for 3 weeks. But we got that. I think it's called Milacon that you suggested, Kate, and that like really has been helping her like release some gas and stuff and some of that bloating in her stomach. Something else that's
with the gas at the beginning. It was horrible.
that was real struggling. And then something else that's just been super annoying to me is like the skin rashes. So Elise had a really, really bad rash on her face, like when she was like maybe a month old. And it cleared up now, but like she has eczema like on her chest, on her arms, and the doctor says she'll outgrow it, but that's super frustrating for me. And then she had cradle cap in her head. I'm like, oh, so it's like some parts of her head, she has like little patches. So I'll be happy when that's over with. I'm like, I just want my little full head baby back. But overall, she's really healthy and she's been doing really good. So I'm like definitely thankful and blessed for that.
Yeah, and that's what I tell myself. I'm like, if something is wrong, she will let me know. I have to really trust instincts like that, because I'll like even the slightest thing, I'll be like, is she okay? I'm like Googling, typing this, and then all kinds of scary stuff like pops up. But I have been in counseling since like 4 weeks postpartum, and then like they tried to put me on some antidepressants for a little bit, and I decided to kind of just deal with my postpartum depression and anxiety, not on medication. And it's actually, I think, been going good just with like counseling, recently. So
That's
I think
good.
it does help to talk. But I have like a really bad problem of like when things are hard, like isolating, and I'm away from my family. And so it's just, I think that's been the hardest thing, is I'm really isolated out here.
Yeah. We be saying all the time, like, we wish we could just.
I know, we'd be like, we wish Kate was here.
Kate was here. Like, we wish we could just go around the corner and be like, what's up, girl? Let's go.
I know. Yeah. I know. Like, Jordan's mom can watch her like 2 hours a week, but it's just like, so it's just, and we both work from home. So it's just like, we're in the house every day. So,
yeah. That's one thing though. Like I have to say, I am getting better with, now that Niani's gonna start school. When I go back to work, is not counting her diapers and her milk, because I'm not gonna know, right? Because I'm not gonna be there with her 24/7. but it's still just like one of those things where it's like, if I don't know, I feel like I feel like a bad mom if I don't know. Like, why don't I know how much you're eating, how much you're drinking?
Mhm.
So it's just like really like unhealthy. But I've always had anxiety. Like before this, I had anxiety, but it was not like postpartum. It has like completely changed, and I don't think that that's something that's talked about enough. Like
Mhm.
I I didn't know about postpartum anxiety until a couple months ago. I thought it was only postpartum depression because that's all the doctor ever talked to me about, or people. I never really heard anybody say postpartum anxiety. But that's a real thing. Instagram
Yeah.
talks that like, no, you got anxiety, girl.
Yep.
Bad. And it just went up. Like I had a hard time like leaving her with anybody, and I still do. Like I really, really wanted the tongue tie and like everything to be like taken care of before I took her to school, because I didn't want her teachers being like, something's wrong with her, or something's this, or something's that, or just constantly have to like re-explain it. So I am very thankful that it's been able to happen the way it happened as far as the timing goes of getting everything figured out. But like I had a hard time letting my mom watch her or anybody, because I'm just like, no, you don't know how to feed her. Like you don't know. And a lot of people will tell me like, girl, like you're tripping. Like if she's not hungry, then don't feed her. And I'm like, okay, but y'all don't realize that like Niani just won't eat. Like she
Mhm.
just won't eat because she's still learning her cues. Like she was also like fed by a tube for like 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So she's learning like her body. And so I just struggle a lot with that. Like I don't think my family, or like really it's just like I don't think my family knows how like what it was like to be me going through all of that. And so they're always just like, chill out, like chill out, chill out, chill out. And I'm like, no, I don't know how to do that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that can like take care of her, or feel like I only know how this feels. You don't. Like you had a baby and your baby went home with you the same day and did not have a tongue tie, did not have a lip tie, did not have any of these things. So you can't tell me to chill when you've never experienced this to this degree. Yeah, she's a baby, but she's not your baby that you had, that you remember from your experience however many years ago.
Mhm.
So that's just something I'm always constantly too, just like processing in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. No, and I think that's real too, like postpartum anxiety. Like you said, a lot of people don't talk about that. You just hear about postpartum depression. And I remember when I was pregnant, I was like, oh, like postpartum depression isn't gonna affect me. Like I've never had any like mental issues, depression or anything like that. But I definitely got the baby blues for like the first couple days after having her. I would just be like crying for no reason. Like literally, like I don't know, tears would just be coming out of my eyes. And like, I'm happy I moved past that part, but Trey was like super helpful during that time and just like pushing me forward, like, you know, motivating me to like feel better, encouraging me, letting me know like everything's gonna be okay. Like, you look fine, you're doing a great job. I would like question a lot, like, am I doing everything right? Like, you know, like, am I meeting her needs? Am I? So now I feel like a lot better about all of that, a lot more confident as time has went on. But yeah, that's definitely a real thing.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy about the postpartum anxiety is the intrusive thoughts that come with it. You know, like it's just crazy. Like you don't want to be having those kind of thoughts. They'll be like, "What happened? I dropped my baby on the concrete right now.
Yeah.
Why did I think that?" And then you're like, "Am I
Yes.
manifesting?" Like it's so horrible. I hate it, and it's still like I'm still working through. My anxiety was so bad, especially through like the reflex and the tongue tie. Like Zuri would cry for 3 hours straight and at night. And then like because she had reflex, I would have to feed her and then hold her up for 30 minutes. And she would eat like so periodically because she wasn't filling up because of
Yeah.
her eyes. And so it would be like I would nurse her and then I would have to sit up and then she'd fall. Then I get lay her down and then within 20 minutes she'd be up to eat. And so I got like no sleep. It was crazy.
Yeah. That's been a nice thing too, since the tongue tie Niani now eats like every 3 to 4 hours and not every hour. Cause that was another thing. Like it was just like I couldn't do anything, like cause she was just like, I'm hungry all the time. And I know that there's a such thing as cluster feeding. So
Mhm.
mamas out there, okay?
Mhm.
Don't think everything is cluster feeding. It's not. If your baby is constantly eating, then something's not right. Okay. There's cluster feeding, and that lasts for a week, maybe 2 weeks, but it's not supposed to last for forever because sometimes these doctors just be telling you like it's cluster feeding. And I don't know why they don't be thinking about anything else outside of cluster feeding because it's not
Yeah.
cluster feeding all the time. There's a
Mhm.
lot of things like I think I'm just gonna tell all y'all like trust yourself. Like
Mhm.
don't be out here like, yeah, like, and stay off Google. Like that's like a condescending thing, but stay off Google.
I know.
A mom who lives on
Yeah.
Google, stay off Google. But for real, like trust your instincts. Like,
Mhm.
and don't be afraid to talk to other moms. Like that's why like I don't care. Like you can ask me anything like legitimately, and I will tell you anything because it's the power of like who you know. Like
Mhm.
if I didn't know Kate, and this other girl that I follow on Instagram that lives all the way somewhere across the world that I don't even know, like she's just a mom, like I wouldn't have never, like Instagram told me about a tongue tie. Like it's so crazy. Like I thought Niani had thrush in her mouth. We went to the
Mhm.
doctor and it was, we went through 3 bottles of nystatin, 3 bottles of a whole antibiotic, y'all. Like I'm just giving my baby this antibiotic for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, 3 bottles all together, and come to find out it's not thrush, it's a milk stain because the way her tongue sits in her mouth because the tongue tie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The
It-
doctor, the doctor didn't like it wasn't the doctor that told me that. It was Instagram and Kate. Like between those two things, it was like, oh, okay, that this is not thrush.
yeah.
So just trust your instincts. Like don't second guess yourself when it comes to that. Like just know like and there's never like you're not wrong though. Like if you just want to take your baby to the doctor just to get the baby checked, take the baby to the doctor just to get
Mhm.
it checked. Like don't think that like you're being overreactive. I think that's another thing is like a lot of people will tell you babies are supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
And if they're not doing this, then something's wrong.
Mhm.
That really hit hard for me, especially like in the NICU. The NICU is a bitch.
Mhm.
Period. End of story. Like that place is not, it's not for the weak. And so with the NICU, but then also society, the way society will tell you you're supposed to parent will have you thinking that you're being overreactive, but you're not. You're just
Mhm.
following your instincts. Like it's your baby teaching you and you teaching yourself how to listen to those cues. Because if you just ignore it, then you're not listening to yourself. Your
Mhm.
intuition is there for a reason. It doesn't just like, it's just not there just to be like the inside voice in your head. Like, no,
Yeah.
especially if something keeps knocking, answer the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely no doctors who told me about Zuri getting that lip tie. It was like her reflex just kept getting worse and worse, and like her gas was getting worse. Like her belly would look like Santa because it was so full, and she would just scream and scream. And I was like, we kept on taking her, and they're like, "Oh, that's normal. Like babies get reflex, baby gets gas." I'm like, "No, this isn't normal. There's something else going on." And I went to different places, Googled a bunch, and I was the one who kind of came across lip ties, and then I went into like sorry, the thought left me. Oh, lactation specialist, and I told her, and they were able to kind of diagnose it from there. So
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's super important. Like just advocating for yourself. Like if you know something's wrong, like just go to the doctor. Like, and if they try to not listen to you, go to another doctor. And one thing I was reading too is like if sometimes if doctors refuse to do something you're asking them to do, you can just ask, okay, can you document this in my chart that you're refusing to kind of look at this? And then they're not going to want to do that. So they're going to look further into what you're saying. So I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, if they're causing issues, just get a new doctor.
yeah, that too, because you want to
Yeah.
be seen by someone that you trust too. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like to switch gears a little bit and just touch on another point. I think I love mentioning this, but the snapback culture, like,
Mhm.
a lot of people, and I learned this when I was pregnant, like keep your comments to yourself, period, in the story.
Mhm.
Like, I don't care if I look good. I don't care if I look bad. I don't care. I don't need you to tell me. Um, a lot of people don't realize that like you, like you're not in your body. Like, okay, you're not in your body when you're pregnant. But then like once you have the baby, a lot of people think just because like you're not pregnant anymore, that you're back in your body, and you're not.
Yeah, it's a body you don't recognize.
It's a body you don't recognize, right? And so it's like it takes time for me to get there, to feel okay, to feel comfortable with it. Like honestly, that's why I cut my hair. Like no, like I just want to feel like some part of, like I want to feel like something that makes me feel good. Like that is a choice that I'm making. And so I think that's another thing too, is like just keep your comments to yourself. Like a lot of people, like, you know, when they see me, and I think, you know, I talked to you about this, Kate, too, like they're like, oh my gosh, like you look amazing. Like I didn't look like that. Like I don't care what you look
Yeah.
like.
I
They say
hate when
that,
people make those kind of comments.
yeah,
It,
like they say that other part as if
yeah.
like I didn't look like that when I was this many months postpartum. Like, okay, like,
Like
well,
everybody is different. Everyone's
everybody's
body is
different. I'm
different.
sorry. Like, what am
Yeah.
I supposed to be sorry that? I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. Like,
Mhm.
just keep your comments to yourself.
You know,
Like,
another annoying question too. People ask like, "Oh, when are you guys gonna have another one?" Like, we just literally popped the baby out. Okay, like nobody's thinking about having another
I
one
know.
right now.
I'm like, I don't even sleep. Don't even talk to me about that.
Right, like no one's thinking about that right now. Literally,
but I mean, seriously though, like, it's like if you're a mom out there or you're thinking about getting pregnant or whatever, like, just don't even trip. Like, just embrace, like, embrace you, embrace the changes. It's hard.
It
You
is.
know, if you're super small, and some women who are super small and petite, you know, they carry small and petite and they go back to being super small and petite. Some women are super small and petite, get pregnant, and don't go back to being super small and petite, but that's okay. Like, you're not supposed to snap back. But if you don't snap back, like, and you see a mom, don't be asking her, like, what are you going to do? What's your plan or whatever? Or like, no, like, just like, there's such a mental thing to get up every day and see stretch marks, or to see this, or, you know, see things like that. Like, people ask me all the time, like, well, how does it make you feel that you had a C-section? What type of question is that?
Yeah.
Just
The-
like think before you ask questions. Like,
Yeah.
What type of
The thing
question is
that's,
that?
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the thing that's really hard is just like I get comments like that a lot, and it's almost triggering because I have lost like an unhealthy amount of weight because I was so stressed. And Zuri was so high maintenance. I wasn't taking care of myself for a while, and it like I didn't feel good physically at all, you know. And so when people make those comments, I'm like it's triggering because I just was in such a bad spot, you know, and I was losing too much weight, you know, but people are like, oh, wow, like you must work out. And I'm like, actually, I haven't been working out. I was in a bad spot.
yeah, no, that I could understand that. Yeah, so people just think before you speak, basically, is what we're getting to. Use your brain. But I was going to ask you guys something else. Oh, how do you guys think this has been on your husbands, like being fathers? Do you guys feel like the responsibility has been kind of like more shared? Do you guys try to relieve each other? Because I know a lot of focus is usually just on the moms, but like dads have to adjust their lifestyle too. So what do you guys think?
I think definitely, let me see. So because I spent a lot of time in the NICU by myself, not by choice. So my husband just doesn't do hospitals. All right, so it's kind of messed up because he just doesn't do hospitals. And like, we kept trying to tell him that like the birth of Niani was going to be the most beautiful thing, and that it was going to be a positive experience for him, and it was just going to like change his perspective on hospitals. And that didn't happen. So it made it even worse because he's like, well, how come the doctors didn't tell my wife that something was wrong with my baby? Like, once again, the hospital and the doctor failed my wife. So when I had to spend time in the NICU, he would come and he'd visit like he was there for the birth and like our first initial stay. But like obviously we didn't know that like Niani was gonna have to stay in the NICU for that long. So like after the first week, he just stopped like coming like whoa. He stopped staying there overnight because like we were both sleeping there overnight and that just wasn't it. Like it just started to get too much and exhausting and tiring and stuff. And so because I think because I spent like primarily like all day in the NICU, like I was there all day and sometimes all night. And he stood home. I by default became the parent that like knew everything medically and just like kind of like the first response parent. And it was also very hard for my husband to see my baby like our baby like that because that's just not what he expected. And as a dad or as a man, you already don't know what to expect when a baby is born because that's not your natural like physiological like that's not for you, I guess. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, you're
And
not
so
carrying, so
yeah, you're not carrying, right? And so then like when the baby comes and you have to see the baby like that, that adds a whole nother twist to it. So I think definitely I'm the default parent, but as time goes on, he becomes like more he's changing things about his way of being and like when he wakes up in the morning what he does. So the first thing that he does when he wakes up in the morning for a while like and we had to talk about this like hey like you can't just leave me with her all day like just because like I know what I'm doing and like you're comforted that she's with me because like you know she's in good hands, you can't leave me like all day just doing whatever you want to do. So we had to like come together and like the first thing that he does now when he wakes up is he makes me a smoothie. Well, he makes us a smoothie or he makes me breakfast in the morning when I wake up because usually like I'm with her, like I can't, like I'm with her and sometimes I'm trying to sleep. Like I don't have energy right now. So like when we wake up, sometimes Niani will fall back to sleep for a morning nap. And I'm like, dang, like I either need to, like I'm about to pump and go right back to sleep with her because I'm super tired and I can't eat. But then it's like, dang, I'm also really hungry and I need to eat in order to be able to pump, or otherwise, like my supply is not going to be as great. So just like I had to like, he's had to like make some shifts instead of him getting up and do what he would normally do in the morning. He wakes up and he makes us breakfast. He takes the dirty bottles downstairs. And so he's doing more like chore like stuff for me.
Yeah, that's still super helpful.
Like it's super helpful, you know. And also just like having conversations with him that I don't want him to be seen as the helper. Like, oh, can you help me? Like, no, like you just need to learn how to take care of her on your own. Like you're her other parent. So it's not like a helper, you're her parent. So you need to be capable in being able to take care of her. And like that's going to require you to change ways about your day. And so Mike has been, you know, very good with that. Slowly but surely, the bigger she gets, the more comfortable he gets for sure. Which I knew that though. Like Mike doesn't really do well with babies. He loves toddlers, and like once they're mobile, that's his jam. And so now that Niani's getting bigger, she's getting heavier. Remember, Niani was 4 pounds. Like Mike is 6'4". So that's a huge difference. And he was just afraid to drop her or, you know, like just handle her. Like when we first came home, Mike couldn't understand like how to pick her up and put her on him like this. Cause he's just like, what? Like, what? Like, how do you do that? And now he just be doing what he like, he's so afraid that like he's gonna like break something. And I'm like, no, babe, her neck is intact. Like, so he's just learning like how to be like a caretaker. And like one thing he always says to me, which I always remind him, like, so what? He's like, well, I don't got all those curves. He's like, I'm just straight up and down. Like, you can't get comfortable with me. I'm like, no, but you're her dad. Like, you are her dad and you have a heart, and she knows your heart and she knows your eyes. She knows your nose. She knows your whole face. So you may not have the curve, but you have the connection and the attachment. So
for sure. Yeah, for me, I'd say me and Trey talk about this often. Like it's been such a transition. Like we're usually like just on go mode. I mean, we still be making moves too. I ain't gonna lie. We be up early still, out this door on the weekends, having Elise in the back of the Mini Coupe. But I think we both like split responsibility of her pretty evenly. I mean, I'm obviously with her more because he's at work during the day, but he'll like pop in and out throughout the day. She sleeps next to him at night every single night. So like he's feeding her and burping her throughout the night. But I also, every time she eats, I get up and I have to pump. So I feel like that's a fair exchange, you know? And yeah, I feel like changing diapers, taking baths, like a lot of things we do together. We usually give her a bath together. There's been times where I've bathed her by myself though, or him, like today he gave her a bath. But I think that we do a really good job sharing, and that kind of like lifts the load up off of me too. Because I think typically like the woman, even if you're married or if you're in a relationship or whatever, like oftentimes the responsibility like falls fully on the woman. So like I'm super thankful and I'm proud of him for like stepping up and like helping out with his child as he should. So
Yeah, I think when I was pregnant, I was really worried about Jordan a little bit. Like he didn't have a lot of like baby or infant experience. And so I was just like, oh, how's he gonna be changing diapers? How's he gonna, like, he's a germaphobe, like he wouldn't even share drinks with me when we first met, you know. And I was like, this baby's gonna poop on you, she's gonna spit up on you. Like, how are you gonna do with that? And he totally like shocked me, you know, like he was like a pro at changing her, taking her, you know, like at nighttime we'd always do it together, especially when she was really little. Like he would get her out of the bassinet when she'd cry and change her and then hand her to me to feed, and then he would burp her. And so we share a lot. It's kind of hard because we both work from home, and then he has like his own business that is going crazy. So I do a lot of the stuff during the day, but like if I need breaks and stuff, like he's there, or I'm like, just take her, he's there. He has no problem with like being with her by himself for hours, you know. Gets spit up all the time, does not care, you know.
yeah.
And then the only thing is that, and like we split bedtime. So he does like the first half of bedtime, you know, like the bath, the lotion, the diaper, all that kind of stuff. And then I get her to sleep. And it's only because she's like a really bad sleeper and she only falls asleep with me. So that's the only downside,
Yeah.
you know, because she just fights everything. Like I'm like, why are you such a hard baby to go to sleep? I'm like, you're ruining your chance for a sibling.
That's the least too, like just heighten that sleep.
Yeah. Like
sleep.
The regression, the 3-month or 4-month regression was absolutely terrible for us. It was the worst experience. It's been a lot better. I think some moms hit it. It's harder for different babies. It was just really hard for us. But coming out of that, she still is kind of not the best sleeper and is really dependent on me for sleep. So that's the only downfall. Sometimes I want to be like, why can't you get her to sleep? You know,
that's a nice routine still though, you know, like just having any type of routine I feel like is like super helpful. So
yeah.
And I'm not rushing on the routine either. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Pressure. People are always like,
just gotta go
on
with
the
the
schedule
flow.
yet? Is she this yet? And I'm like, no, not yet. And probably never will be. Like, I think we posted this on our page one time, but like I live by this now as a parent. Like, if it works for you in your household, then you don't owe an explanation to anybody. Like Niani she's teaching me her schedule. So like now every night she falls asleep around like 9 o'clock. She's like out and good to go. Like she'll just go to bed, and that's one of the things she's doing now too, is like sleeping through the night, and that freaks me out. Like, aren't you waking up to eat? Like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous. Sari's gonna wake up like 5 times.
And then like one of the moms that we follow, that one of our followers, and this mom that like I'm getting to know like in a different capacity, she's like, yeah, like, well, babies start sleeping through the night like once they're like around 11 pounds. Like, oh, okay,
that's definitely not true.
Like I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Like it can happen. And so
some babies will never sleep through the night.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just
I think that's the
a lot of
word,
different
and
things.
I've came into acceptance, you know. I'm like, I love my little comforter, you know, she is just like a comfort nurse at night, so I kind of just go with it.
Yeah.
Niani
Just
be
go with
knocked
the
out,
flow.
and I'd be like, dang, like, wake up, girl. Like, you're not hungry. You don't want nothing. Like, you just be freaking me out. And that comes from
Mhm.
just being used to feeding her every 2 to 3 hours. And so, like, at nighttime, she goes like 4 hours without eating, 5 hours. And I'm like, oh, like, are you okay? Like, you good? Like, and that's another thing. Like, she had to go to the NICU because her blood sugars wouldn't register. And so, like, when we were leaving the NICU, like, they were very like stern, like, you need to feed her, like, she can't go past 3 hours because her blood sugars will drop and blah blah blah. And so now that she's starting to sleep through the night, that's always like, I'm like, are your blood sugars okay? Like, are you good? And her doctor has told me multiple times, like, you do, like, her blood sugars are the least of your concerns right now. Like, she's good. She got enough sugar.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
They be telling me, they're like, she's, if you just leave her in there a little bit longer, she'll fall back asleep. And it's like, do you know how much I've done that? It's like-
Yeah, like how long do I need to leave her? Because she's
yeah,
not
I'm
leaving.
like, it's a screaming festive. So I just, I think that's what she needs at this point of her life. And I am going with it. And, I always think that like baby and infant and toddlerhood is such a short time in relative of like your whole life. And so I'm like, right now it's just
Just
the
embrace it.
dedication. Yep. It's just kind of how it is. So
It is. I mean, look how fast they're already growing up. Like, it's crazy.
it is
Super
crazy.
3 months, 4 months, 5 months.
I know.
know.
I don't like want to cry.
Right.
Yeah,
You're gonna
like,
stay
we were-
small forever. But it's
Yeah.
also like so awesome, like just watching them grow. Like
we were
it's like
just all
exciting
pregnant.
and sad at the same time. Like
Mhm.
It is. It's such like a dual thing, especially because like each set of size that I have to pack up and put in like those plastic tubs, I'm like, no, like I don't want her to be this small. And
speaking of, yes, so guys, in the future, we would like to do like a little giveaway. I know I have a ton of things that at least didn't wear, didn't end up using, or like she's outgrown gently worn clothes. So we like to do like a giveaway, help out some moms out there who could use some clothing, maybe toys. I'm sure we all have a ton of things. So if that's something you guys would be interested in, let us know for sure. But I think we've been talking for a minute, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up so we can all return back to mommy mode here. But thanks for joining us today, you guys, and we look forward to seeing you guys in our next episode.
Yeah, let us know if you want a part 2, because I think that's important. Like, if you want a part 2, please comment below and let us know. We will also ask when we release the episode. If you all want a part 2, well, that's the question at the end of this episode.
Yes.
If you want a part 2.
Yes.
So let us know if you want a part 2 to this, or what you all would like to hear next, now that things are moving and swinging postpartum.
Mm-hmm. We love to share with you guys. Alrighty, well, you guys have a great night, and thanks for joining us again on the Mommyana podcast, and we'll see you guys later.
See ya. Whoops.